None words to describe. I should have said, oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. People need to see what I see. They need to see.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the co-federation solar, sun, our starship, planet Earth, restored to heaven on our and every earth, as our spiritual, genealogical, local, global, universal voyager in shared her and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover and re-understand, sustain, and explore are and all are in fact familiar new worlds of family community, of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe, to restore, renew, and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, past, present, retroactively, and now, rebalance, and future, always balancing, to lovingly, genealogically, and boldly become and be space-time travelers whenever and where we have interdimensional reality, all in part been before, if also never been before, in alternative space lines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ, IQ, and SQ continuum, balanced combinations of the ever-expanding circle which spirals and grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all both in each and every one. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body, for we all, both in each, and each both in all, can, must, and marvelously and miraculously make it so.
In the thunder's blast, she emerges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She is risen from the nativity of Caldera. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
May the circle be
We all are risen by my intercession.
Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. Om Mahalakshmi Mridapriya Maharupa Mahapudya Mahapadavanashini Mahamaya Mahasattva Mahashakti Maharati Mahabhuta Maheshwarya Mahavidya Mahabala Mahabuddhi Mahasiddhi Mahayogeshwareshwari Mahatantra Mahamantra Mahayantra Mahasana Mahayagatramāradhya Om Mahabhairava-pūjita Maheshwara Mahakalpaka Mahatandava-sātrini Mahadāvesha-mahisi Mahatripura-sundari Chaturshashti Upacharāढ్య Chaturshashti Kalamayi महाचतुष्षष्टिकोटियोगिनी गणसेविता Just a slide like one of us, just a stranger on the bus. lesser than that. No. No words. No words. Describe. I should have said. Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful.
My family tree is filled with poetesses and poets and psalmists of holiest vision if they will allow themselves to join in the new way. This day I call the heavens and the earths as witnesses intercessorily for and hopefully and prayerfully not against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose love and life with light, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not our new millennial law.
Okay. I've got a Patricia. May sunflowers go up through to the glass. This is Anna Marie singing Christmas, and I am Cherokee, Cheyenne, Blackfoot, and Algonquin, Dakota. And I am also a French, English, and German. That means we are all related. We embrace the new millennial golden rule as the law of Alltimate of the sacred ground that is Mother Earth and all the planets of all the universes.
Welcome to our broadcast from the heart and headquarters of the one family community of love, life in light of the Co-Federation of Earth and Planets of the New Millennial Golden Rule. My name is Astrea Marayama Rajel One Family Tapao Equinox True Q. I have to say something to you. I've been doing these broadcasts for quite a while, and I've been sending emails for about 3 years. He has to have reached a couple of million people by now. And I can tell you that with an occasional exception, a momentary compliment, brief, most people don't value this at all. Even the people who have said they agree with me and have done similar things in their lives don't cooperate with me or with one another. Now, there's a deep reason for this systemically. There were huge failures made in my life. I did not recognize the impact of patriarchy and its other aspect in North America, which is extreme individualism, and how it was impacting people cumulatively. I have to say to you right now, on this day, I am, in the famous phrase, shocked and appalled. And I tell you, Goddess, God is shocked and appalled at the extent of the internalized misogyny and infantile father worship that is not anything beyond primative. Apparently, the species of people in the North American region are so deprived of father figures as children that they are obsessed with them as adults. And all they can think to do is to accept either those father figures or cling to one or two women who are propped up in order to deceive most of them women, including themselves, because they are willing to accept patriarchy. Everybody is used to patriarchy, and therefore they are willing to accept it. It's like being used to polio and therefore being used to being crippled. And that is what you are. You are crippled. There's a slightly more than half of humanity is female. They are highly intelligent. They have nurturing impulses. When polls are put in front of them, they give the most far-sighted decisions as their wish. They are the most protective of the environment, the most protective of children, and the most protective of the general welfare. In every poll of questions asked. However, there's a little catch here. They are so father hungry and so low in their self-esteem that they cannot cooperate. They cannot help each other up. They do not take each other seriously. They're engaged in petty squabbles over nothing. And they always seem to not be able to figure out that so many of you can't seem to figure out that your media has been lying to you. Can you really be this dumb? And can you really be this heartless toward the female gender? Not only the male is heartless toward the female gender, but the female is. In fact, in certain circumstances and arenas, the female is more heartless toward each other than men are, emotionally. Obviously, most of the violent crimes against women are done by men. But in the emotional realm, the mother-daughter bickering, the lack of contact between women relations, the failure of so many female gifted pairs and triads and quaternities who are colleagues to work together. The great undermining that women do of each other. The twisted sisterhood that Kelly Vallon writes about. The women's inhumanity to women that Phyllis Chesler wrote about. The "Are you wearing that?" comment that Deborah Tannen wrote about. The virulent low self-esteem projected toward women by women in the form of negative comments, lack of support, and on too many occasions, relational bullying and deliberate undermining of women of excellence is a poisonous, toxic blech that's occurring all over North America. Why? Because these women do watch television, and they're constantly seeing overly attractive, if you ask me, manufactured-like attractive women saying nothing but what men do. Unless it's something very, very trivial about a woman, what she wore, but not what she thought, what she wore, how her makeup was. John Lennon said women is the nigger of the world, and John Lennon and Yoko Ono said that with him, obviously. Yoko Ono probably inspired, in fact, she did inspire the phrase. Yoko Ono gave John Lennon that phrase, and he made that into the song that you're familiar with. Well, women treat each other like niggers and men treat women like niggers. And the women are so niggerly that when they see a man treating another woman like a nigger, they're attracted to that man. Because their own self-esteem is so low, they're waiting for him to dump on them too. They go through their little honeymoon phase, and then it gets to the point where the same misogyny comes out. Because this is socialized over generations and generations. And too many women, you know, you heard the quote of our mother describing our grandmother. She had an experience as an immigrant in the United States from Romania. She was highly educated. She spoke several languages, and she came here. And when she visited her relations in New York, their job for her was to be, as our mother put it, a glorified maid. The fact that she spoke several languages, was very wise and well-educated and articulate, didn't make any difference. The job for her was to clean up the house. Well, she didn't want to, and to defer to the men while doing that. That little subtext didn't come out, but that certainly was there. Our grandmother Ray said no to that. She went off, and after she was widowed, when her dear young husband was one of the many casualties of the patriarchy-caused depression that caused enormous stress for men of gentility and intelligence, and all men. And it was definitely a feature of patriarchal hierarchy. She established her own home where she brought women together. They gathered in the home and they tried on hats and they bought hats. The economic transaction of buying the hats kept her family going. But what was more important was the interaction among the women. It was positive. And when I was growing up, women who we didn't know would come running up to my mother and say, "Are you Harriet from the hat store?" And they'd be beaming with clearly a memory of something very, very pleasant. Women have it within them to be good friends to one another. Women have it within them to insist on gender parity. We see that that has occurred around the world, and that there are men who have advocated it and brought it into being, usually with the assistance and insistence and assistance of their wives and other women of their cultures. But not here in North America, because North America is one of the places, not the only place, but it is one of the places on this planet where misogyny is very, very thick. And it is quite disgusting. Just as racism is disgusting and extreme arrogant classism is profoundly disgusting, and extreme sibling rivalry is profoundly depraved, genderism across the board is a profoundly disgusting condition. And you have it. You have it, North America. You have this condition. You better look yourselves in the mirror and ask yourself, like that little stuffed animal of the Freud owl, why do you hate your mother? There's reasons why people do hate their mother. In North America, breastfeeding is has a lousy record. North Americans are not breastfed as long as other people in other cultures. And too many of the women of the 30s and the 40s, the 20s and the 30s and 40s were breastfed, if they were breastfed at all, at a time when the doctors told the mother, put your child on a schedule and do not respond to the cries in between the schedule. Those little girls and little boys grew up very frustrated by their mothers. And they have come to internalize a hatred out of that experience. And the only way to relieve that hatred is to expose the cause of it. These women were following doctors' advice at a time when that's what women did. They said, yes, doctor, yes, general, yes, president, yes, yes, yes. The women were essentially living in their Vaterland. Their entire life was their Vaterland. They said, yes, husband, yes, father, yes, 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 yes. Inside, they felt belittled. They disowned their own natural feelings in order to fit in, and they kept smiling obligingly at all of this oppression. These women don't know shit from Shinola right now. I've run into so many women who said to me, well-dressed, middle-class women who said, oh, I would never vote for a woman president. Millions of people in other places have, and successfully, with much better cultures, much more happy cultures than we have right now, here. But this kind of prejudice is not only among men, it's among women. And the thing is, we really don't need presidents anymore. What we need is solar power, good use of computers to connect, and problem solving in every local, global, and universal community done by gender-balanced decision-making groups. We hardly need presidents because the world is very interconnected, and except for maintaining the infrastructure of roads, most of the activities of maintenance of community could be very easily local. You don't need big land masses with big federal governments. It isn't needed. Because we have the computer and everything is so connected. And people can find out the solutions to problems and adopt the best practices just after a few hours of web searching. It doesn't take, we don't need a Congress. We don't need a parliament in England. We don't need it. We just simply don't need it. The technology has outpaced that, but what has not accompanied it is the anthropology of kindness and sharing and loving thy neighbor, female and male, with respect as thyself. Most people are watching television, which is telling them to vote in a sham that completely abrogates the common sense that was given to North Americans in January and February of 1776 by Mary Lambert's husband, Tom Lambert Paine. Mary Lambert Paine's husband, Tom Lambert Paine, which called for a government of equal percentages of women, equal presence of women, full indigenous inclusion, no slavery, and no property requirements. Do we have that? Have we ever had that? Everybody should really read The People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. I have to see what his wife's name was. Howard, whatever her name was, Zinn. I'll look up her name. The next broadcast, I'll have it for you. He has a big section on the oppression of women. And it's going on. And it's gotten worse because of television. And the sad thing about it is that they have so deftly recruited into their ranks these sick little women who are all worried about how they look, but have no knowledge of anything about their own gender worldwide. Nothing. And I think I gave the example in yesterday's broadcast. I watched with horror when Tom Hartman played the excerpt of Desmond Tutu, Exande's husband, Archbishop Desmond, saying to the World Economic Forum, we need a revolution of women. We men need to admit that we have made a mess of things and let the women come in. Thom Hartmann played that clip for a young woman by the name of Lauren Leister, who was working also for RT Television. She was wearing a low-cut, tight, clinging top. So there's nothing really wrong with that, but it's telling you about the mindset. And her response was, oh, that's well and good, but they're talking about some other issues. And she went right back into legitimizing all of these governments where women were not present and what they were discussing at Davos. She did not at all respond to the question Tom asked her. Do you think that we need a revolution among women? She completely blanked it out, like the question wasn't asked of her. This is a woman with internalized misogyny, and they're all over the place. And the rest of us women who have some sanity are like, what is this? Well, we need a big discussion of this. In terms of people who are oppressed, there's a famous statement by a psychiatrist who was a Black African American, Frantz Fanon, who wrote a book called The Wretched of the Earth. And he said that the greatest tool of oppression is the mind of the oppressed. And nowhere is that more true than among women. They act like oppressed, and in poor communities where people are minorities that have been oppressed, you see high rates of turning on one another. For example, black on black crime. They are unable to organize to address the larger oppression. Too many of them are. And the ones that are not able to organize to address the oppression turn on each other in the form of gang warfare or other forms of crime. The ones who are able to address the structural problem of racism don't turn on each other. But the ones that don't quite have it in their head to understand that there is a structure that's enforcing their oppression turn on each other. And it is exactly that way among women. Many of them live in homes where the men are dominant and they've been advised by their mothers, put up with him, go along with him. He'll earn the money. He earns the money. He'll get mad at you if you don't. He'll beat you if you don't. Be nice to him. And in following that kind of advice that comes from not only their mothers, but their fathers, many women learn internally to be worms wearing makeup. It is what John Lennon sang about in his song. Women is the women of the world. If she doesn't look beautiful, we criticize her. If she looks beautiful, she criticizes herself. The language of his song is very true. That women internalize an unacceptance of themselves, and therefore they turn it on other women. And they cripple one another by ignoring one another primarily. Occasionally it comes out in more aggressive relational aggression with active discounting, degradation, degrading behavior. With many women, it just takes the form of a quick hang up on the phone. That's as close as they get to even a conversation. They quickly hang up on the phone on one another and they never get to the conversation. They're too busy dissing one another to even have a conversation. They never get to the issue of parity. And every little trivial remark becomes a big point of worry and constant obsession. And this larger issue of their larger oppression for so many women never occurs to them to look at that. 70% of the people who live in poverty on this planet are female. What more do I have to say to you? Something is wrong here. And the new millennial golden rule is the way to fix it. I've been putting these gems of understanding in front of people for a long time now. And I can tell you, I don't get the kind of reception and positive response that I should. People are jealous of me that I'm a savior. Their self-esteem is so low, they resent that someone who's female might come to save them. So they can't get saved. Their prejudice is getting in their way. And so many of the ones who are mothers who have sons can't let go of that vicarious impulse of to live through him. And in this generation, that's a very ambivalent impulse. So one part of them wants to live through him, and the other part of them wants to destroy him. Because they haven't lived up to their own potential, and they're going back and forth between propping him up and giving him everything he wants, and on the other hand, undermining him, undermining his relationships with other young women, who might be someone who could mate with for life. The mothers are undermining their own sons. They're also undermining their daughters because they're watching television, and the television is undermining them continually. All they see is very gorgeously coiffed women, very beautifully made up, talking yeah about what a man said. What this man said, and what that man said, and what this guy scored on the basketball court, and what this guy did in the boardroom, and what's this guy, and what this guy, and what this guy, and that guy, and this guy, and that guy, and that guy, and this guy, and that guy, that guy, and that guy. And the fact that they have brilliant sisters all over this land and all over the world who have done magnificent things, they don't talk about it. They barely talk about it because they're paid by the television to not talk about it. The boardrooms know they can manipulate these women, and they'll go along with it. We have the evidence that Laura Flanders exposed that Christian Amanpour had done an interview with Nawa el-Saldawi, a woman very key in the Egyptian Tahrir revolution, a psychiatrist, actually, a brilliant woman. And she was talking about aspects of the revolution, and particularly also including the women's aspect. In Egypt, the women came together in many groups, and they offered a proposition called the Women's Charter, the Egyptian Women's Charter, that would have brought a minimum of 40% women to every aspect of government in Egypt. Now, al-Sadawi was trying to talk with Christian Amanpour about this. Christian Amanpour was told by her editor and her CEO to censor that portion of the interview, and she did. That's what she did. And in situations where women have stood up for each other or for Mother Earth, and men too, like the situation of Stephen, I forget the last name, I think Simon was it, and Joan Aker, I think, working for another network, when they tried to expose some of the problems that had been found scientifically with genetically modified milk coming out of genetically modified feed for cows, every time they wrote the report, they were told to change it, they suddenly realized that they were being told not to do it. And so they protested, and they were both fired. And the women around them didn't bat an eye. This is Mother Nature we're talking about. And this is how alienated women are and men are from Mother Nature in this culture. I am warning you all that there is a limit to what I can do for you if you don't want to be saved. If it is your preference to go over the cliff with Daddy, to die with your boots on, with Daddy's face on yours, that Daddy fills your mind and fills your being so greatly because you missed him as a child that you really can't let him go, not even for 9 months, to have a time of reparation for women. If you can't let him go for even 9 months, and you have to cling to him in this election and that election and this election, even though you know it's all a lie and it's coming out of the boardrooms, then, my children, I have to tell you, God is God, is going to give you terrible travail and then end you. There is no way around that. If you hate the mother of the universe, and you hate Mother Nature, and women hate each other, and men are so oblivious to women and so used to using them that they don't even notice that the women are hating each other out of low self-esteem, then, my children, I cannot save you. I can only say I'm here for you and I have the answer for you. If you don't accept the answer, I can't save you. I will cry for you. I do cry for you. I know you have balance within you, but you are lost of your balance. You're off balance. You're profoundly off balance. So I say to you, you read the New Millennial Golden Rule, and you'll read it again, and you'll read it again, and you'll read it again, and you read it again. Then you read the 11 steps just beneath it, and then you put your name by sending me an email, if it isn't already on the list of among the representatives on my website, on our website at 5050now.wordpress.com, in the section under grassroots congresses and assemblies. And you tell me you want to be there, or if you are already there, you thank me for putting you there. And if you don't do that, and if those of you who have been invited to co-host this broadcast and co-host it, don't come and continue to not come, I cannot protect you from the travail that God is going to give you, for sure. I may want to, but I cannot, because there are certain spiritual aspects to what you are doing. And it is embedded in hate. You hate the female. You cannot forgive your mother for the breastfeeding errors, or you cannot forgive your wife for this or that, or you cannot forgive your mother allowing your father to rule over you. And because you cannot forgive that individual, you are unable to look at the system that produced her. And if you cannot look at the system that produced her, then you cannot make change. Patriarchy is that system. It is an anthropological arrangement in terms of the interaction of family and extended family, community, and larger systems, governments and economic entities. It's patriarchy. If you cannot say, I want parity, not patriarchy, and I'm going to live by parity and not patriarchy, and I'm going to vote according to parity, not tokenism, but parity, not patriarchy. If you really cannot say that at this time, I tell you, you don't have much time. I apologize to you. I believe now, looking back on my life, that I was always meant to be the Messiah. The first but not last only, co-Christ. My job as the Messiah was to bring everyone up into ascension and all be co-Messiahs, co-goddess and gods. That really was my task. And I have to say, I lived most of my life conventionally. And since I did not know that was my task, you all fell down. Now I know it is my task and always was. I'm able to travel back in time and review my life and the interactions with other people and tell them, here, we missed this here, and we missed that here. And if we had gathered and if we had talked about this then, you wouldn't be in the soup, the dark place that you're in right now. I've said this to a lot of people, and it doesn't seem to get through. They're so scarred by the patriarchal assault on them, particularly by the media, that they can barely function in this area. They're not able to think. They're in a state of paralysis. They really have polio of patriarchy. It's patriarchy polio. They cannot walk. They cannot get up and walk to parity. They're afraid to. They're stuck in their seats, and they can't move. I'm talking particularly about women, but also men in terms of their expectations, many of them. As long as this goes on, my children, this planet does not have a future. It's just that simple. The universe will go on. New planets will arise. It's possible that in a different form you'll be reincarnated, I too, somewhere else in this universe, probably in a lesser form than we would have had we been able to do this successfully. That is a tragedy that I want us all to avoid. So I'm really saying it to you very simply. Read the New Millennial Golden Rule and tell everyone that you know about it. Then go to the 11 steps and implement them wherever you are and wherever you live. I'm sharing at a mega level. You can do that too, though. Everybody can do a Google's Hangouts. You can talk about the New Millennial Golden Rule and show them our website. It doesn't have to be only me. I want as many co-Christs as I can have. Position, it says right on our website, positions available for co-Christs. I want you. If you're watching this broadcast, in fact, I forgot to do something, and I'm going to do it now, at least for the sake of the last few minutes of the broadcast. Call the conference line at 641-715-3580, access code 773342, and we'll do this together. I'm going to call right now. Okay, I am on the line, and I'm going to start doing this regularly. I don't care who you are. As long as you're female, you get to be co-Christ immediately. If you're a younger male, under age 37, find a young woman or any woman in your life and bring her with you and come also. Older men, you can call for the purpose of bringing in other women and telling them to talk and then listen. The old men have to sit back and watch, but they can recruit the women to come into this as co-Christs and recruit the younger people. That has to be done for 9 months to 18 months. If we can't make that transition, we'll never get out of this habit, and this planet is simply going to die of patriarchal planeticide. It's simply going to die. And I think it's, from what I can tell, it's going to die a rather slow and torturous experience. It may try to get into some interplanetary connection. I don't think it will succeed, because Goddess God will not want it to succeed, because it's ugly and it's based in hate of at least half the human race, the human family. And actually it's more than that, because it also terribly oppresses minorities and young people and anyone who don't fit into the patriarchal order. It terribly usually oppresses younger siblings. It is a very, very cruel system of hierarchy that has no place in the human heart, and yet is very widespread. Women are the niggers of the world. Or as George Carlin said, the women are crazy because the men are stupid. And now they're both. Both women and men are both crazy and stupid. As long as we perpetuate the patriarchy, that's the condition. So let's have the alternative. I'll give you the screen share. It's the New Millennial Golden Rule, and that's our broadcast for the evening. $5050now.wordpress.com. Join us.